Okay, hello there. In this particular video, we're going to talk about our new data vendor quote media list functions that are available. Now, as in previous videos, I've shown you how you basically go through the quote media sign up process and what's available in terms of delayed and real-time data for the various exchanges and investment classes. I'm not going to repeat that procedure here, but what I do want to mention is that the list functions is a much more detailed way of bringing in complete data sets besides individual data points. We're going to get into that right now. Okay, so we're going to go into the sheet, zoom in here real close to a couple sample symbols here. And as I mentioned in previous videos, there's a lot of different ways to actually bring up the functions. Now, you can actually type in directly into a cell QM for quote media underscore. A drop-down list comes up on some of the most popular items: bid, ask, earnings per share, high, low, last. Basically, pricing data points, fundamental data points, and technical data points. Okay, so that's a quick way to do it, to just actually just type it right into the cell and the drop-down list comes up. You can do it directly in the function bar itself. As you get more familiar with the program, you can type in just last, for example. Let's say you just want last. Okay, you just reference the cell, close the parentheses, hit enter, and boom, your last price comes up. That's another way. For those of you who may be new to the program that want to see all the different ones that are available, again, to repeat, if you click on the actual function dialog window, normally with Excel it defaults to the category of most recently used, so you're not going to see any of ours at first. You actually have to hit the drop down of categories, scroll down the list, and then you see all our different categories here. In the previous video, we were talking about quote media, the few common functions that we have in a list here. Plus, we talked about ways of bringing in quote media value functions all in one cell, where you may not be referencing certain cells with your stock symbols. And we've also covered the quote media streaming data points for those who sign up for the real-time data subscriptions. Well, what we're going to be talking about on this video are the quote media list functions. Now, if you notice, there's only one that says quote media underscore list. So let me do it this way by typing it in directly. If I did QM underscore list, only one comes up. So let's say I click on that. Okay. The idea here is this is how you can bring in a complete data set. So let's say you want historical pricing data. Let's say you want to bring in intervals, like every 5 minutes, what was the open, high, low, close last. Let's say you want to bring in dividend data. That's what QM list is all about. Now, after I do this first example, I'll show you how you can see a list of all the different data sets that you can pull out in one function. But we're going to use an example here with Microsoft to just kind of briefly give an example. So let's say I do equals QM underscore list. I choose that, and then in parentheses I'm going to put get history. After get history in quotes, I'm going to put a comma. I'm going to put in symbol in quotes, then comma. We're going to do Microsoft in quotes. quotes, and then in parentheses I'll close that. Now you may ask, why put all that in, just not have a quick drop down for it? Well, it doesn't quite work like that here because you're bringing in a data set, so there's more than one parameter you may need to define. That being said, sure, you can say put certain cells where you'll have the get history, the symbol, and Microsoft words in these different cells, and that's one way to do it, but that's not really because there's so many different ones, it doesn't really make any sense to have it set up that way. But what we're showing here is how you basically do it all in one formula without referencing any cells. So I really didn't even need to put Microsoft over here next to it in D4 here. But so let's say I hit enter. You're going to get this window here that say this function will overwrite the cells below the active cell and there is no undo. Do you wish to continue? I'm going to say yes. And as you see, what happened here is it brought up the historical data over the last 60 days of June with the open, high, low, close, volume weighted price average, the change in percent, volume, total value, bid ask size, data points. Okay, but again, the list function is to bring up a complete data set. Okay, and in this case I used history. Now you can get into a little more detail and actually define dates, as with the interval function, for example. I'll just show that real quick. Let me just clear out all this. Let's say I want to see all the open, high, low, and let me clear out Microsoft also. Let's say I want to see all the open, high, low data points every 5 minutes. Okay, so here you would put in QM underscore list in parentheses and quotes. I'm going to put get intervals, and don't worry, I'll show you the complete list of parameters and metrics that you put in. I'm just doing this real quick to show you. Get intervals, comma, in parentheses, symbol, comma, and then the actual symbol in this case is Microsoft, in quotes, and then the interval we're looking for, which is 5 minutes. Okay, just put the number 5, close that, hit enter. Oh, actually, I think I did that wrong. Oh, I had to put interval, so I have to put in quotes interval, then 5. Okay, so you have to, we're getting intervals, we're identifying the symbol, we're saying what the interval is, it's 5 minutes. Okay, you hit enter, again this window will come up, and then here you go, every 5 minutes for the last trading day you get the open, high, low, close, and the share volume actually for that 5 minute period, which is kind of a very useful data point in itself, depending on how detailed you want to get into your analysis. Okay, now this is a pretty long list, so I'm just going to clear all that out. So here, let me just show you the various different metrics available for the QM list function. Okay, so once again, as I've shown you in previous videos, you go to the dashboard here up at the top, go all the way to the right, underneath settings, hit the drop down, hit settings. This window is going to come up. You hit data subscriptions, and if you notice down here at the bottom, it talks about a quick reference paragraph here that talks about QM list. You put in the method, which I just did was get intervals, the parameter name, which was the symbol with Microsoft, and then the second parameter name and the parameter value, which I just did was interval and 5 minutes. Okay, which is actually defined here. All right, but now I'm going to show you the complete list of QM list functions. So here you would hit the knowledge base, which takes you to our support page. This page comes up, and then down at the bottom of this page is all the various QM list functions. So just click on that link, and as you see here, their API with Quote Media, it gives you over 80 different methods to use for the QM list functions. Scroll down a little bit further, and here's the list of methods. So here you might want to get the history like I just showed, certain chart data. You can get headlines, insider summaries, earnings estimates, market stats, intervals, which I just showed you, intraday history, which is kind of the same as intervals, but a little more detailed. You can get options chains. You can get the profile of the company, analyst reports, brokerage ratings. I mean, again, complete data sets all in one function, which makes this little functionality with our program very useful and saves some time also when you're building out your data sheets and your various analysis models. Now, since this is our support page that shows the different list, the QM list, just want to show you real quick that if you click any of these links, this will take you to the Quote Media knowledge base that has a little more detailed description on how you can set up these various list functions and the different parameters. But I want to mention before I click on one of these links, again, these are separate login credentials from, say, your data subscription. So you'll actually have to set up a profile to be able to access their knowledge base. And just keep in mind, it's a different login, username, and password than, say, your data subscription or your MarketXLS username and password. I'm just going to show you real quick here. I'll switch here to login. And let's say I click on one of these, okay, brings you to the Quote Media login support portal. So again, you'll have to set up a new profile, and then once you've made that, you're able to get in, and on this particular page, which I already have saved because I clicked that particular link, you can get into more detail of the various output and parameters, data type, the strings. I mean, there's just a whole slew of data sets that you can pull in just one particular function. So again, the idea is to save time, not have to build out individual functions by row. You might want to just bring in complete data sets all at once, and that's just another great, functionality of MarketXLS for those of you who take your analysis very serious and want to speed up the build process as you're designing your sheets. Okay, so that pretty much concludes this video that talks about the QM list functions, episode 5. And if you have any questions, of course, you can just come to the website. You can always just fill out a support ticket. Go to our knowledge base first, because we know we have a lot of frequently asked questions at the knowledge base. But we do have a chat at the bottom right of the website page. I'm just going to pull that up real quick here for a second and just zoom up here. So if you notice, there's this little bubble here down at the bottom right. You can just click that. Here you can start a new conversation, and we'll usually get back to you fairly quickly, within a couple hours, it says here. And then of course you can just ask a question and maybe get the answer you're looking for in our knowledge base. But I just showed you the easy way to get to our knowledge base for the QM list functions, which is what this video is about. But there are other ways to reach us for support. Okay, so that concludes this video regarding the QM list functions. And I hope you find this program very useful. I've been using it here now for a few years, and it's one of the best tools I have for most of my real in-depth analysis that I do. Okay, thank you.